All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we are diving straight into a massive internet mystery, and it's a fascinating one. So there's this simple 12-minute audio file floating around out there right now, and it is claiming it can naturally encourage the exact same brainwave patterns as a deeply meditating monk, all while you just sit on your couch, literally doing nothing. And the cost? $40. I know, it sounds totally wild, but over 2 million people have reportedly bought into this.
Naturally, this opens up a huge curiosity loop for us. I mean, whenever something becomes this popular, this fast, we really have to ask, is this actual genius? Or is it just pure, unadulterated marketing magic? You know I love a good skeptic's journey, so we're going to tear this whole concept apart. We're looking at the actual science, the company's own fine print, and a dedicated real-world 2-week test. Because by the end of this explainer, you're going to know exactly what this audio file actually is, and more importantly, whether it's something you should be using yourself. To kick things off, let's look directly at the product's sales copy. They state clearly that this track is designed to encourage, and I quote, the same brainwave pattern linked with creativity, focus, and clear thinking just 12 minutes a day. Guys, that is a massive promise. They are claiming that a very short, completely non-invasive daily audio routine can just effectively optimize your brain's mental performance. No extra hours of studying, no grueling week-long levitation retreats, literally just 12 minutes of sound. And here is the kicker that makes the whole thing so insanely enticing. The cost. It's $39. And that is a one-time fee. There's no sneaky recurring app subscriptions you're going to forget to cancel. There's zero physical supplements, no drugs involved. It is just a one-time purchase for a digital file that you get to keep forever, and you can play it on any device. It is incredibly accessible, which absolutely explains the viral popularity. But as we all know, popularity definitely doesn't equal efficacy. Okay, let's get into section 1, the science of sound and unpacking brainwaves. Look, before we just write this off as a total scam, we need to look at the brain's actual electrical rhythms. Right now, as you're taking in this explainer, you're almost certainly in a beta state. You're alert, you're a little wired, maybe you're even a bit stressed. It's your standard, everyday awake mode. But then there's the target, theta. Theta is that drowsy, dreamy, oh wow, I just had a genius idea in the shower state of mind. It's that magical in-between zone, right on the edge of sleep, where creative flow just happens naturally. To be perfectly precise here, neuroscientists define theta waves as a specific electrical brain rhythm. It usually hovers right between 4 to 8 hertz, and it's associated heavily with relaxed alertness and sudden inspiration. Now, this is a very real, very measurable biological state. Doctors and scientists, they observe this on EEGs every single day. So the core premise of the Genius Wave is actually pretty straightforward. This audio track is designed to nudge your brain out of that wired beta state and ease it right into this highly coveted theta state. But, okay, that immediately begs the million-dollar question, right? How on earth does playing a sound out of a speaker physically move your actual electrical brainwaves? How does an MP3 file just force your brain into a state of creative flow? This is the major curiosity loop we have to solve today, because the answer to this exact question is the difference between a legitimate scientific tool and a $40 placebo. Well, the secret here all comes down to some really clever math. The audio utilizes a specific trick. I want you to imagine playing a frequency of 200 hertz into your left ear, and then a slightly higher frequency, say 204 hertz, into your right ear. This right here is exactly why the product instructions are absolutely hardcore about one rule. You strictly must use earbuds or headphones, because if you just play this out of a regular Bluetooth speaker sitting on your desk, those frequencies just mix in the air and the whole magic trick completely fails. And this builds right into the actual scientific mechanism we're talking about, brainwave entrainment, specifically through something called binaural beats. You see, when your brain hears those two mismatched frequencies independently in each ear, it gets kind of confused. To make sense of the mismatch, your brain attempts to basically split the difference. It literally generates its own internal electrical rhythm to bridge that 4 hertz gap. And remember what we said just a minute ago? 4 hertz puts you squarely into the theta range. That is the actual physical mechanism at play here. All right, let's shift gears to section 2, the 2-week test and my actual experience. Because theory is one thing, but reality is often totally different. I decided to actually do a 14-day rigorous test with this. And I have to be completely honest about day 1. You press play and, well, you're kind of expecting the heavens to part or angels to start singing or to feel a sudden surge of superhuman intellect. But instead, the audio track essentially sounds like
a soft hum with a little bit of texture underneath it. It kind of sounds like a refrigerator that went to college. It is very understated. I genuinely sat there on that first day feeling entirely underwhelmed, just thinking, did I really just waste my time?
But the progression over those 14 days was genuinely surprising. Day 1, like I said, pure skepticism. Actually, scratch that. I almost quit right then and there. But brainwave entrainment doesn't usually announce itself with fireworks, right? So I stuck with it. And then right around day 4, something incredibly interesting happened. I noticed that when the 12 minutes were up, my transition into deep, locked-in work was suddenly so much faster. And by day 14, I realized I had inadvertently established a rock-solid daily ritual. So, the absolutely crucial point here is the massive gap between expectation and reality. Let me be radically honest with you. The expectation of gaining a superhuman IQ or suddenly being able to do complex calculus in your head, yeah, that's pure fiction. My IQ did not budge one bit. But the reality? The actual time it took me to stop fidgeting, close my extra 20 browser tabs, and start doing deep, meaningful work, that drastically decreased. And that was a measurable, highly noticeable improvement in my daily friction.
So let's bring it all together in Section 3, the honest verdict. Research versus reality.
So we've got the theory, and we've got my personal experience, but does the broader scientific literature actually back this up? Well, here is the absolute fair, unbiased version. Studies on binaural beats are, in reality, quite mixed. Some peer-reviewed studies absolutely show small, genuine effects on relaxation, improved attention, and even mild anxiety reduction. Other studies, though, they show effects barely above a placebo. But listen, there is exactly zero scientific evidence that playing any audio file is going to make you measurably more intelligent. The effect that does exist is very real, but it's modest. You feel calmer, and you feel a little more focused. Not superhuman.
And if you dig deep enough, the company basically admits this themselves. If you go to the very bottom of their website, you're going to find this fine print, not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. And honestly, showing you this actually builds massive trust for me, because it proves that the product itself is legally much more modest and grounded than the flashy marketing hype that surrounds it. But that actually brings up a really fascinating psychological question. If part of this is just the placebo effect, is that really a bad thing? Think about it for a second. If putting in your earbuds for 12 minutes makes you successfully sit down and focus, and the primary reason is simply that you believe it will help you focus, does your brain really care why it worked? At the end of the day, the result is exactly the same. You sat down and you got your work done.
Which leads us to a highly pragmatic breakdown of who this is actually for. Honestly, you should completely skip this if you struggle with focus but haven't even tried the free options yet. There are literally thousands of free binaural beat tracks online you can try right now. However, who this is genuinely for are people who want pure convenience. You want one clean, ad-free track, you want to own it forever, you absolutely do not want to waste time searching every morning, and you want a solid 90-day money-back guarantee backing the whole thing up.
And hey, speaking of transparency, I want to be entirely straightforward with you guys. The link to this product in the description below is an affiliate link. If you do decide to grab it, the show gets a small cut at no extra cost to you. And I'm telling you this right now as a matter of radical transparency. We base this explainer on facts and honest experience, and trying to hide an affiliate link would go entirely against everything we do here. My take on this remains exactly the same whether you use the link or not. Because here is the absolute real takeaway from this entire analysis. The audio itself, the theta waves, that 4 hertz difference, that is incredibly cool science. But in a way, it's almost just an excuse. The true, highly valuable payoff here is the psychological habit. It's the consistency of the cue. It's the physical act of showing up, putting the earbuds in, and telling your brain on purpose, okay, I'm now taking 12 minutes to prepare to focus. That daily ritual, that is incredibly powerful. So if you are just exhausted by the daily friction of getting into deep work, building this exact habit might really be worth it for you. If you want to try the exact track I used, there is a link in the description to grab the Genius Wave. Just commit to using your earbuds for 12 minutes a day and treat it as a 90-day, completely risk-free experiment for your own brain. If it doesn't help you lock in, you simply get your $40 back. It's a remarkably low-risk, high-reward experiment. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought to wrap up today's explainer. I want you to forget the whole monk-like genius claims for just a second and ask yourself honestly, if all this track did was successfully build a reliable daily habit that consistently transitioned you into a calm, locked-in state of deep work, would you pay a one-time fee of $39 for a really good focus ritual?
I'm genuinely curious where you land on that. Thanks so much for learning with us today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.